Today, we're gonna talk about 3 reasons why you should not start a podcast. Now's a good time to remind you, comment, like, subscribe, it all helps the algorithm. Reason number 1, it's not gonna make money for a while. Reason number 2, you have to care for a long time. Reason number 3, it's gonna take a lot of hours out of your day or a lot of money from your wallet. But good news is, you get to decide. I'd also like to thank the executive producer, David Finkel. Without his big baller support, I'd probably be running a carnival, going from city to city, and posting up until some gigantic personal injury lawsuit starts accumulating against me. And guess what we do then? That's right, we pack our shit up and we go to the next state. But because of David's big baller support, I don't have to do that. And if you want to become a big baller supporter of the show, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. Welcome to Catching You Up with
Nadav, it's okay time.
All right, so let's go back to reason 1, which is it's a long game. I can't tell you how many times I've done one-on-one consultations with people where they say, hey, Nadav, I want to start a podcast. And I say, why do you want to start a podcast? And then they say, because I think I could get rich really fast. I say no to all those clients, because guess what's gonna happen? You're not gonna make that money, bro. Let me tell you from personal experience, when you're launching a podcast, when you already have a platform, and let's say you already have relationships with ad sellers or advertisers, and you're launching it on a well-established YouTube channel, when all those things are in line, and you're still destined to have premieres that are upwards of 100,000 views just on YouTube, it still takes months to get people to sell ads on your videos. When I worked at YMH, they were recording the podcast for like 7 or 10 years before I came on board. And in those years, it took them that long to build up an audience of tens of thousands. Then when I came on board, hey, let's start a YouTube channel. And in 7 years, we went from 0 to 2 million. But it took 7 years to do that. And if you're not scared of that time frame, by all means, start a podcast. But there's other things to consider for why it's a long game. I can't really think of too many case studies where someone went in, made their money, and left. For the most part, you go in, you slow build, and you create an ecosystem. And then you have to maintain that ecosystem. And at a moment's notice, it could turn around and just start plummeting. But I'll tell you what, you're most likely not gonna get rich in a year. You probably won't see a dime for the first 6 months. Some people are luckier than that, and they can make it work. Let's take a quick break from the show and tell you about today's episode sponsor, Soundshed Studios. If you're in the Austin area and you're looking for a place to record a podcast, look no further than Soundshed Studios. They have a shit ton of expensive lights, which you see right here. That's right, guys, ring lights are back. No, they don't have ring lights. They have lights, they have cameras, they have microphones, they have a whole editing team, they have a live switching team. Pretty much, if you're in the area and you're not trying to figure out all this stuff from the ground up, go to soundshedAV.com today to book an appointment. If you're in the Austin area and trying to record a podcast. Now let's get back into the show. Let's look at Joe Rogan. He wasn't a smash hit right out the gate. He just wanted to do it and experiment, and curiosity is what drove him building his podcast. And that shows through his podcast. But guess what he wasn't motivated by? Dude, I'm gonna make so much money off this podcast. You can't have that mentality. If that's the thing that's fueling all of your decisions and all of your ideas, and not how can I make this a better show, you are doomed for failure. Let's go to reason number 2 why you shouldn't start a podcast. You have to be passionate for a long time. Think of the timelines that I just described. 7 years here, 10 years there, 15 years in total. You have to care and show up for every single one of those episodes. The second the audience detects that you're disingenuous or you don't care anymore, why would they care? They're fucking gone. Hell, there's been times where I've written scripts for this show where I'm in the middle of writing an episode, and episodes come out on Fridays, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hit that notification bell. And on Thursday morning, I'm finishing up a script, I'm getting ready to film it, and right when I say the first opening lines, I'm like, God, this is boring. Like, I'm not interested in this subject. And then that in turn makes me think, if I don't care about this, why would anyone care about this? And that translates. So at the last minute, I pulled an audible, decided to talk about something that I cared more about, and that translated. It got views. It did fine. But the most important thing is that this is not a passive gig. You need to care about every single episode. You need to care if it does well, you need to care if it does bad, and you need to care enough to try and look under the hood and be like, oh, is the carbonator not rotating right? This fan belt is dry. I don't know. I don't know why I decided to use car analogies to use as a metaphor on how to care. Actually, hold on. It's actually not a bad metaphor, because a podcast or content really is like an old, shitty, beat up car. You need to always pay attention to, hey, is this running smoothly? Is the suspension okay? Am I feeling all the potholes in the road? Can this run better? Boy, this is eating up a lot of gas. How do we make that more efficient? It's actually kind of a perfect fucking metaphor. Yo, I'm gonna do this. And now to go to reason number 3 why you don't want to start a podcast. It's either gonna take a lot of time or a lot of money. But the good news is you get to choose. Because when you record a podcast, you need to think of the production. You need to set up the mics, you need to set up the cameras, you need to figure out what you're gonna talk about. You need to worry about what is a good show. That's 5 things on one hand, and we haven't even started recording yet, right? Then there's recording day. You need to actually show up, you need to care, you need to do a good job. You need to know how to run all that stuff. And then once all that's done, you need to do the audio editing, you need to do the video editing, you need to break it out into social content, and you need to constantly be viewing the analytics and seeing trends and like, why did this do well? Why did this not do well? Which leads back into, you need to care about it. So that's a lot of skills that I just mentioned, and those all take a long time to master. Now, good news for you, you don't need to be a pro at everything in order to record a podcast or record content. But you do need to know a little bit of everything I just mentioned. Now, that's going to take a lot of time for you to learn. It's going to take a lot of time for you to learn how to do well enough so that something is watchable. Now look, if money isn't an issue for you and you could pay a team of people to do all those things for you, I guess it's not a hurdle anymore. Time and or money is a huge factor in starting a podcast. And granted, if everything I just said doesn't scare or deter you, you're not scared of caring about something that you're doing every week, you're not scared to learn new skills or invest money, well then maybe fuck everything that I just said, because if you're not scared of those 3 things, maybe you are ready to start a podcast. Boy, what a twist. Hopefully that was helpful. And if you're looking for a consultant like me to help you launch your podcast, you can email me at verynadavshow@gmail.com. Boy, what a fun episode. I'd like to thank all the people that you're seeing on screen right now. They're the producers of this show, and without their help, it'd be very hard to consistently put out this episode and this show as welly as I do, as goodly as I do. And if you'd like to become a supporter of the show, you can go ahead and click the Patreon link in the description below. Now's a good time to remind you, comment, like, subscribe. It all helps the algorithm, but most importantly,
this is a totally unconfirmed news.